So when we were talking about expectation at level 2, we had this really nice idea of expectation, which was if I had 250 people and the probability of something happening was a half, how many people would it affect? And you just multiplied the probability, which was a half, times the number of people, which was 250, and it told you how many people would be affected. We're now moved on for that because we're at level 3. So I have what I would call a discrete random variable. It's discrete because my numbers are 0, 1, 2 and 3, and it's a random variable because I've got different probabilities for each number that I could get. Okay, so that's really what I'm talking about. Now the expectation of x is my mean outcome, and our mean symbol is mu. And to work that out, we sum, so we add all the x numbers times by the probability of those numbers. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go x, which is 0, times the probability of x, which is 0.55, x, which is 0.1, times the probability of x, which is 0.25. So I'm going to get 0 times 0.55 plus 1 times 0.25 plus 2 times 0.15 plus 3 times 0.05, and that gives me my expected outcome, which is 0.7. So I'm expecting to get a number smaller than 1, which makes sense because most of my data is in this first bit. Over half my data is smaller than 1, which is great. But some people then might want to work out what my standard deviation is, and my standard deviation is equal to the square root of what I would call my variance. Now I don't have a way of working out the standard deviation, but I do have a way of working out the variance of x. The variance of x is the expectation of x squared minus the expectation of x all squared. Well, I've just worked out what the expectation of x is. That's 0.7, so I could substitute that number straight into there. And I can square it, that's fine, but I don't know what this expectation of x squared is. So let's work that out. So the expectation of x squared, well, if we think about it, expectation of x was x times probability of x. So if I want to work out the expectation of x squared, I'm going to do the sum of x squared times the probability of x. Now this is kind of important. This is the bit people get wrong. They square the probability. It's not squaring the probability. I'm squaring the x number. So I'm going to get 0 squared times 0.55 plus 1 squared times 0.25 plus 2 squared times 0.15 plus 3 squared times 0.05. Now that's a calculation I could do, and I'm going to get an answer of 1.3. So I'm left with a calculation to work out my variance, which is the expectation of x squared, which I've just calculated as 1.3, minus the expectation of x, which is 0.7, squared. Now, of course, you're all smart enough to know that because I'm going to have to square root this in a minute to work out the mean, I cannot get a number here that is negative. That just doesn't work. So I've got a variance of x as 0.81. So to work out the standard deviation, I'm going to square root 0.81, and that gives me 0.9. So there's my mean there, and there's my standard deviation. Okay, I hope you followed that.